Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today we are going back into the ranking of fantasies. We have played some of Final Fantasy IV Warriors of Light, the Nintendo DS, and we are going to talk about it and then eventually rank it. I don't know if we'll get through all of it today, but I am joined, as always, for all things Final Fantasy by Chris ZombiePie Redacted. How you doing, ZP?
Actually, it's me, Pete, with an animal fact. Were you aware that grizzly bears are actually just brown bears, and most brown bears are actually larger than grizzly bears? And the only thing differentiating the grizzly bear from, say, the brown Kodiak bear is their geographic region and diet?
Wait, I thought brown bears were black bears. Not that
No.
grizzlies and browns
The
were the same.
Kodiak brown bear is traditionally larger than the grizzly because it eats salmon, whereas the grizzly bear tends to eat inland and trout, which has a lower protein and fat content.
I see. Well, thank you for those fun facts that are relevant for a Final Fantasy game. I'm also joined by one Jeff Rude. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. While Chris was slandering the various bears that live on my island, I remembered the thing that I do for the show, and I'm gonna go run and grab the thing, and then I'll be back. So say more weird things about bears.
I saw some bears recently. I went camping. I saw 4 bears, ZP. 4.
Gino, are you sure you want to say that? Oh, wow. You sure you want that to be on record? Like, I
I
mean,
camped?
you yourself are not a bear, but oh, okay. I mean, yeah, you can do that in a tent.
There were 4, the 2 cubs and then 2 medium-sized bears. I'm told this is a lot of bears to see on one hike. And it was a lot. It was a lot. I also saw a
where
moose.
there's a will, there's a way.
I saw a moose. And then I also saw 2 marmots, which are little ground squirrely looking things, which are pretty cute. All right, before we discuss Final Fantasy IV Warriors of Light, I'm going to go ahead and do our normal plugs. You can get in touch with the show.
Plugs.
Yes. You can get in touch with the show, deeplistenspodcast.bluesky.social. We have a Blue Sky now. deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That is our email address if you want to get in touch with the show, sending questions, etc., etc. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. At the $1 Patreon tier, you get access to our Discord, where you can talk to the hosts of this show and get in on all sorts of fun stuff, like our fantasy football league that we're running. You can find out what sort of stuff we're recording. You can find out about our early impressions on the games that we're covering, all sorts of great things. And then at the $3 tier, you get access to the OG Soncast, our anime podcast that ZP you are a part of. That's correct?
Our next episode will be Afro Samurai. We're going mainstream so as that you jerk faces that don't actually follow along with the podcast actually listen to something on the podcast. It's out there, legally available, not obscure. We all know that you watched it at some point when you were a freshman or sophomore in high school or college. So just
and it's got
shout out.
It's only 5 episodes and a movie, so you could even watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You could watch it while you're listening to the podcast if you wanted to. All right, young Jeffrey, are you back?
I am.
Excellent. Okay, so this is usually the part of the Final Fantasy podcast where you 2 chuckleheads disrupt the show in some way. Is that happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hooray! I'm here to disrupt the show briefly. Once again, exploring the Great White North's bespoke candy offerings. I'm holding in my hand a Palamine.
A what? Palomine?
Palomine. Pal-O-mine. A palomine. Are either of you familiar with the palomine?
No, I just assumed you were saying you were holding a friend in your hand, which is cool.
Hell no. I ain't got any of those up here. Um, uh, this purports to be Canada's premier chocolatier offering from the Ganong chocolatier since 1873. This product purports to have been in existence since 1920. It is two separate small bars. They're probably about 4 by 2 centimeters. They are fudge and peanut in a sort of enrobed in a chocolate casing. I'm going in.
Okay, so it's Twix style, it would appear, with 2 bars in one wrapper.
But like the Bounty or the Almond Joys are, right? There's like 2 little nuggets.
Okay, they're end to end instead of
End
side
to
by
end.
side. They're
Yeah,
butt
a
to butt.
centipede, if you will.
Okay.
This is okay. This needs some more peanuts.
Ass
It's like
to ass.
Yep, that's what we
Pretty-
were saying. So it needs more peanuts, you say?
yeah, the fudge is nice. It's got that kind of little slight molasses flavor to it.
You okay?
I'm
Is
like
it
not
dusty?
getting any peanut. Excuse me.
Is it like dusty in the center?
No, it's like a good fudgy fudge.
Yeah,
You know.
fudge.
Okay.
I'm like trying to detect a peanut in here at all. I like fudge. Fudge is fantastic. I mean, that alone gets this to like a 3 or 4 out of 5 kind of experience. We're short on some nuts. We're short on some nuts.
Mhm.
So this
I would
candy
recommend
bar
it.
that's butt to butt is the fudge is good, but it's short on nuts. That's what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
They've packed a lot of fudge into this, but it could stand some more nuts.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that these 2 roommate candy bars in your Palomine is
It's good to know you want
good.
these nuts on your face.
Where is this?
No, we were
from?
trying to do something a little subtle, ZP, a little bit of pinky up comedy, and then you just went. and you
When
made
have
it-
we ever been
made
pinky
it
up?
low. Well, I was holding my pinky up at the time.
Yelled by you for once doing a joke too blue even for you.
My pinky's up right now, and that's what's elevating this.
Tell me
Okay.
about your pinky.
God damn it. Okay, ZP, are you going to do something that
Yeah,
disrupts
my
the show
thing's
also?
apparently wholesome, and I'm going to. This is not the conclusion of a retrospective looking at a game, so I will not be partaking in alcohol. I once again turn to my good ally and good friend, Costco.
Good. Well, Jeff, did you say it's a 3 or a 4? This candy bar?
That's a
Out of
4.
5.
What the fuck? I can't. Where? Oh shit! I forgot to get this. Give me a minute. Didn't prepare for this
Hey, Jeff.
segment.
Yes.
Just a quick question I have for you. We do prepare for the show in advance. Like, we know when it is.
I
We
got
know
it.
what we're going to be talking about.
The cord
Yes.
of my microphone is wrapped around me. Now I have to spin around in circles to not be wrapped around with my cord.
We prepare. We play games for weeks. We have calendars so that we can schedule
got-
things.
Pastries from the Costco bakery that I was at. This is strawberry rhubarb pastry, 9 count, covered in sugar, strawberry rhubarb. I usually tend to view strawberry rhubarb as a summertime thing, and with us in the death throes of summer, why not eat some rhubarb? Okay, I've eaten strawberry rhubarb like pie, so having it in pastry form is not alien to me. I would just say this: the edges are a little on the crispy side. The center is a little soggy, if not moist. Like it. That seems to be like a problem with Costco pastries. Is you in a more professional bakery would want them to be crispier and not soggier, but Costco always fucks up the middle. I mean, obviously, this is being charged for $12 for 9, so can't complain.
Shouldn't complain. This looks like the picture has been posted in the Discord. This looks fine. I like the lattice work on the top of this pastry. That's kind of fun. You can see the strawberry and the rhubarb through it.
Mm.
Those are large sugar crystals on it, though.
Yeah,
Does it cause any textural problems? Is it cutting your mouth?
kind of. It is a little crunch. There's a little crunch on this that I'm not a fan of.
Don't like crunch.
Also, the corner's got
flaky
nothing,
pastry.
and I didn't really get a lot on the filling, so I'm just gonna lick it up like I'm a cat.
I was about to say, Jeff, this is one of the only food reviews that Chris has ever done where I don't hear every second of him trying the food, and then that he put his mouth on the microphone again. It was refreshing. It was a nice change. DP, has the filling improved your experience at all?
They seem to have made the same mistake that a lot of like amateur or non-professional, like supermarket bakeries make with strawberry rhubarb. I can taste the strawberry jam that they use. Rhubarb is not even there. And
Is it good strawberry at least?
it's a decent strawberry jam. I'm gonna make a hazard a guess that this is like a pre-made pie filling strawberry jam for like
Probably.
pies that
Fair
they put
guess.
into this pre-made pastry. My problem again, usually with a rhubarb with strawberry thing, the rhubarb provides a textural note as well as a little bit of a more citrusy zing to it. And I'm not getting any rhubarb in there.
What would you? How would you rate this out of 5?
This is completely average. This is going to be a 3.5.
I like that you
And,
gave it the video game. Completely average is a 3.5 and not a 3.
Yeah, this is mid. This is fine.
7 out of 10 is the
Like
completely average.
it's everything that you love and hate about a Costco bakery item. It's a little on the soggy side. It's got most of the basic flavors right. It's not a true representation of what it claims to be, but it's so cheap, you're not going to complain.
Yeah, the price is right.
It's like when you buy a chocolate chip cookie at Costco. Their chocolate chip cookies really aren't good, but you buy them because you get a lot of them for fucking cheap.
Excellent. Well, now it's time to discuss a Final Fantasy video game. Jeff, I believe you
Wait, we
picked
do
it.
that?
Yeah, we do. Sometimes. Not for that long. Jeff, you picked this one. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Final Fantasy the 4 Heroes of Light?
Final Fantasy: The Four Heroes of Light. So I don't have my usual little deck prepared, so I'm gonna shit one out here and say that this came out around 2010. I just can't tell if it was 2009 or
2009.
10. Okay.
9.
That makes sense.
Well,
because
okay, wait, no. So 9 in Japan, and it was still of the era where it took a year for something to get out of Japan.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the thing about and there's maybe some parallels here in a way with Final Fantasy 13, is that game was also out in 2009 in Japan and 2010 over here. And I think this is more of a companion piece to that game than one would initially think, for a couple reasons. So this is a Nintendo DS game. It was developed by Matrix Software. The purveyors of quality. They're the people behind the DS ports of Final Fantasy 4 and 3. If you look at this game for more than a couple seconds, you'll kind of go, oh, okay. It's, yeah, definitely those guys again. And I think that
the iOS and Android ports of a handful of Final Fantasy games as well.
And the parallel sort of connections to 13, I think, are how to put this. Number one, and I think most importantly, I think this was a first little balm towards like, hey guys, we're gonna make something a little different over here with this Final Fantasy 13. But for those of you who are stuck in the I want a turn-based, menu-driven, classic JRPG with a paper-thin plot and all of that, we've got one of those for you over here. and it's on this better selling platform, and it's called Final Fantasy Gaiden in Japan. Check it out. It'll be a good time. So that's patronizing. And the other fun thing that it has in common with Final Fantasy 13 on the subject of being patronizing is this is a game that is about 40% tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And I am kind of blown away at how dull this experience is.
Okay.
Yeah. CP, it sounds like you disagree with my hot take.
Pretty much, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
We'll get into it. Would you say
Other things about Matrix, though?
Go ahead.
Yes.
They're an interesting developer in a lot of ways because they have hitched their future to consoles and platform ecosystems for whole generations and if not decades, and then switched to new platforms and ecosystems. They got their start making Alundra a possible thing that we need to look at on Off the Deep End because Alundra. And their real true call to fame, not Alundra, was working with Chunsoft to create the very popular Dragon Quest spin-off Tornico, The Last Hope. That's right, Jeff. These are the people who gave you the Tornico franchise and played a pretty big role mystery dungeon games.
Yeah.
By extension. Not the first mystery dungeon game, but definitely the one that taught people what the genre was. After that, they kind of mosey on with doing port jobs and filling kind of a almost Toze crease of taking older games and making ports for newer consoles. They did Dragon Quest V's port to the PS2. And yeah, eventually when time comes for the Nintendo DS, they very closely established a relationship with Square and Square Enix, I should say, to help them with some of their DS projects. This is the weird era where Square Enix, the console division, was on goddamn fire. Everything was on fire. The Crystal Engine was a nightmare. And things were bad on the main business units within Square's, cadres or silos. The DS division was literally printing them fucking money. Like, it was making them so much goddamn money. This game comes out slightly before Dragon Quest IX, and to say that Dragon Quest IX was kind of a big deal for Square's entire early aughts is an understatement. That game carried them for practically a year and change. In fact, maybe you could say the game that finally broke the dam and made Dragon Quest actually popular outside of Japan, though there were early dents on that dam prior. But yeah, while 13 was a smoldering kind of tire fire, though yes, 13 Defenders, it did sell well and was the best-selling Final Fantasy game, largely due to its multi-platform release. The DS was a very important part of Square's portfolio. Like a massive part of their portfolio.
Yeah. And this game, would you say its spiritual predecessor is Mystic Quest or Dragon Quest?
This game?
Yeah, this one. Because it seems like it's a learn how to play Final Fantasy, or here's a very traditional JRPG with some Final Fantasy E trappings.
Right? I think aspirationally they're trying to be Final Fantasy, like somewhere in the 3 to 5 crease, which makes sense from they'd literally just gotten off of making Final Fantasies 4 and 3 for the DS.
Yep.
Like that was kind of the stated brief of the people that put this together.
So kind of what if you had the reins to make the sequel to the Final Fantasy IV remake you made.
Yeah.
And you had the reins to be the Final Fantasy team. Kinda.
Mhm.
So, this game came out for the DS. Took about a year to come out in the US. How would you describe the gameplay? Like the look and feel, it looks a lot like it's built with the same engine as 3 and 4. Though the camera angle's a lot tighter. It's like a over the shoulder camera instead of pulled all the way out. I'd say they kind of crushed it with the look of this game for a DS game.
I think it's a
Definitely.
really nice looking game. Like I actually kind of like how soft you can really see a through line from this to the way Bravely Default looked.
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of, I think we've already
That's-
touched on that, but this
This is the through line that we will eventually talk about, is the fact that, yeah, there's no going around it. This game is considered the spiritual predecessor to Bravely Default. They've even been pretty vocal about the fact that Bravely Default doesn't happen without this game first coming out. Though Bravely Default won't be made by Matrix, it will be made by an internal studio or internal team in, I believe, Square Enix Business Unit 2, Team Asano, which leads to kind of like the weird way that Square usually does its business relationships. This is something that they borrow very, very closely with Enix, which is to say, anything that's not a mainline game usually is contracted with a studio with representatives of Square internal going to that contracted partner and telling them exactly how to make the game.
Very
That's
fun. Very fun and collaborative. It sounds like that process must be. So in terms of actually playing it though,
it's
it
a
plays-
throwback. I love the
Yeah.
fact that it's a throwback though. Like it's not really, I don't think that we need to be sugarcoating it. It is mechanically a throwback game. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, so it's got a kind of unique MP system. It does not have magic points in the traditional. You've just got a pool of numbered magic points that you're going to refill with ethers. Jeff, how do magic and abilities work in this game?
It's again, you kind of look at the DNA and say, like, okay, this kind of reminds me of Bravely Default if you've played that. Everything kind of runs off of they're just called AP charges. Yeah, that is just AP.
Boosts is sometimes what they use the term for.
A spendable currency that accumulates during combat on a 1 AP per turn basis. So different abilities will either, functionally be free and that they cost 1 AP, or will cost multiple AP. So the juice, if you will, in kind of moment to moment combat is managing your AP stock and making decisions around when it is worth spending AP or burning around to accumulate more AP for later damage or like greater effect of a spell. That is really all the juice that there is going on here most of the time.
So similar to Bravely Default, we'll probably say that a lot because Bravely Default is probably the game you've played. If you're listening to this, it was more popular. You are deciding, am I going to basically play defense right now and boost up my AP meter so that it can get higher and higher and I can use better and better abilities? Or am I going to be burning those pips so that I can do basic stuff multiple times in a row? And so you've got a 4-character party. They're pretty boilerplate, it seems like. Like they have some specializations, but not like, this guy's the mage and has to be the mage.
Sure, it's deceptively simple because this game does take some interesting, I would say, narrative risks with its storytelling and the world that you inhabit, but things present themselves as this almost like fuzzy mittens, again, throwback experience, which it starts to pull that veneer ever so slightly as we get deeper into the game. The other thing that I think is a bit of a shocker is when you try to buy things, there's kind of
Mhm.
like two separate economies. There's one based on gil and one based on points.
For
Yes.
gems.
Um, well, yeah, sure, but it's basically a point-based system as well as a gold-based system. So the gold-based system is your standard, like you pick up gold after you kill things in environments and battles. The point-based system, though, how do you get those gems?
Also killing things.
Also
Yeah.
killing things and then refining them and then kind of like experimenting with them. But that kind of like dueling system, I did not look this up. I was wondering, Jeff, if you looked it up. Is this a street passism? Because this feels like this would have been a street pass thing.
I mean, the DS did not. The original DS was not a street passing system. There was
Oh, okay.
Wi-Fi communication shit. Um,
I know this
that
had
I
a
have not touched.
multiplayer mode, but it was a co-op mode instead of like a full-on like versus mode. It might have
Yeah.
not well as it existed. But yeah, you have to worry about your battle points, which you exchange for prizes at the various shops that will take battle points.
Yeah.
And then
Now,
yes, there are the gems,
now I can say
crowns,
for
and stuff.
reasonable certain that Bravely Default did have Street Pass stuff around some of its shit, but I um couldn't speak to the Wi-Fi stuff here, and I don't know if it would have really given me much of a reason to think differently about this game. I'll put it that way. Um it's Yeah, man. The gems I think the gems are a neat little idea. Um I think what ultimately winds up happening is uh it I'm prone to I am on the record as being someone who enjoys, like, I think the first 3 games in this series perhaps more than you 2 do. Um like I do not mind grinding for the sake of grinding. I don't mind, the relative lack of plot or interesting characters. If the grind be good, right? If they're giving me that grinding juice, um, this game is really built for that. Um, and I don't know why, but I've got some guesses. I actually think I might know why. I didn't latch on this one because the reality is I have not. Some games that are just pure mechanical hit things, make number go bigger, will get me, and I will defend them in spite of everything. And this has just wound up not being one of those, despite being shaped like games I have praised pretty highly on this podcast.
Mhm.
But I think the gems play into that because ultimately it's like, I think to really get to the juice and kind of the interesting mechanical parts of this game, you need to be very engaged with gem harvesting at kind of a high level, for reasons we'll probably get into here very soon. And I find, to do that, you need to be having a lot of fights. And I think the issue is the fighting in this game is dull and unsatisfying.
But we will certainly
And it
get to
just
that.
kinda
Another
shatters it
thing
for me.
to call out, the inventory system.
Yeah,
Sure.
Your characters have individual inventories from
yeah.
0 to 15, which means if your characters are full up on stuff, you need to go to the what is the term they use for it? It's like the boxes in Resident Evil where you can put your extra stuff so that you can
Yeah,
go
it's
get
like
it
the
later.
store,
Yeah,
the storage store.
your storage store that lets
Yeah.
you store items and take them out. There's, I think, pretty good art for all the items that
Oh
are
yeah,
hanging out
yeah,
in your
yeah.
inventory.
So I looked it
Yeah.
up. The person who did the art for this game's name is like so the actual internal. There's something here where I might go over this in the second episode because the producer and director of this game, the producer is Tomoya Asano, who almost requires like an examination. He's like the number 2 in handling the. Well, he's the designated. I'm in charge of usually the spin-off games, and he's at this point considered like super senior leadership because he's like, yeah, we figured out how to make Bravely Default, and then he's like, oh yeah, guys, I'll make another spin-off game. It's Octopath Traveler. Here you go. Oh hey, you wanted me to work on a different project. I'll give you Triangle Strategy. So he's pretty much the guy that Square turns to. It's like, hey, you got a new idea? Because we could use one like in between these bigger games that are just bloating and coming out super slow. You got something for us? And he's like, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
And he also
he is
apparently
single-handedly
burned the ship.
doing what Tokyo RPG Factory was intended to do.
Yeah, it's just when
Not that he's,
Square
like-
needs a project to like right the ship, like he was given the Dragon Quest HD 2D remake projects after they had, let's say, gone over budget and over schedule and got those games out, and then plus, isn't it suspicious that the 1+2 remake came out a little quicker because he was there since the start? But the artist for the game is interesting because he has been at Square since Ogre Battle, like the first one, like 93, like back when they were Quest Corporation. Like, so he's a senior person. So some of his first real credit is like Ogre Battle as a character design, the background art and character design for Tactics, the background art and character design in Vagrant Story, Tactics Advance, main character designer for 12, all of the DS ports for games, character designer for 14, and he's been doing the character work since, Nomura kind of, not Nomura, but your nemesis, Gino, Beltman, started to take a step to the side, but he's now like the character person, and he prefers a more fanciful Amano-esque style, though you will worth mentioning also maybe the main character design behind the Nier series. Who's to say maybe an ass guy. I'm just saying.
I really enjoy the look of the inventory stuff. I don't enjoy limited inventories, but I will say it definitely, for a Final Fantasy game, usually those inventories are just lists of items with numbers attached to them. It's basically a spreadsheet in a lot of cases, and making an inventory that isn't just a spreadsheet, I think is pretty neat and stands out in this game.
I mean, the notable thing about the inventory system with this game is there's one piece of equipment that's slightly more important than everything else, and it's your goddamn hat, because your hat is the key to your character's abilities and how you spec your characters.
Yes, the
It's
hats
called
are for
the
want.
crown system.
Yeah, they are the jobs.
Yeah. Which I gotta say, well, yes, I understand that, like, this leads to you needing to level up multiple hats and maybe engaging in a level of grinding. It avoids a common pitfall with like Pokemon or a lot of job-based RPGs where you've reached a new environment, you've like you've spent a lot of time with this particular character and this particular job. Now it's time for you to switch. You can just make that switch pretty quickly, just right on the fly. You're not locked into this one job. You can just do it whenever. So your character's kind of like Swiss Army knives because you can do that.
Which is nice. So Jeff, you said the combat to you was very dull. Pourquoi?
Yes. I have also been on record. Go check the tape. In a certain Suicode in one episode of Off the Deep End, saying that I think a good auto battle option can be a nice thing. I have played Persona 3. I've played versions of Persona games where you choose every single hit this guy, and then versions where it's like, you know what, I trust this AI, such that is to hit the correct guy for me. I'm giving away a certain amount of hit a button and assuming that this game can do math in a way that I find okay, right? This is a game where during combat, your options are basically attack, cast a spell, or boost. There's a little wriggle of that. You don't designate targets, right? You're just sending them out to punch stuff and hoping most of the time they make decent enough choices. Now the reality is they kind of do, but it's I find the lack of ability to designate targets to be just for some reason a no-go for me. I don't like it. It sucks. It's poopy and I don't like it. I want to be able to designate targets in a small pool of enemies in a game that is not difficult, because it is not. But I think taking away that much agency for some reason just like shatters it for me, and it's probably.
Would you
not
say
fair.
it's got the Final Fantasy 13? You are more of a combat manager than a fighter.
It's not quite there. Like that, because I mean, again, I think it's interesting to kind of consider those two games kind of in parallel, because
they were being
is
worked on at the same time.
Yeah, and that one is just plate spinning, but like by design, because their goal was like you shouldn't be staring at the menu, you should be staring at the cool looking shit, and then like your choices are basically like setting up different class combinations, kind of on the fly, in a way that's like kind of cool. Like, look, we've all talked a lot about Final Fantasy 13. We don't need to litigate that game here. This doesn't really have, like, you kind of go in with fixed classes, because I mean, two things kind of combine to make the first half of this game kind of miserable for me, because it's what I've just said, and that's an opinion, and then there's reality, which is you spend a lot of this game, again, kind of like Final Fantasy 13, being tutorialized by giving you a small party, usually of 2 characters. And if you like, you can kind of kludge your way through, but if you want to sort of like optimize and have fewer problems and kind of smooth through this game somewhat quickly, the best combinations are generally have someone that's kind of running the healing game, which you kind of need to do, and then running the DPS game. So just, stacking healing spells and healing abilities on one character, which is usually like a 1 AP ability to just cast Cure. And then the other one is just going to be primarily damage dealing.
ZP,
which kind of leads to every fight feeling exactly the same.
Did you do the same thing?
So I guess before I want to share maybe an alternate take, I guess we should take a step back and explain how the battling in this game works. So yes, there's this action point system, and each character has 5 action points. And usually your actions are attack, use item, cast a spell that uses items. Now those spells tie into the boost system, which we'll talk about later, because it's kind of an important mechanic. And each turn the characters recharge 1 AP, which means you always are able to do a basic attack unless they're afflicted with a status effect where they lose a turn. I understand and I get that it's a little annoying not to be able to pick your enemies, but I think that the game does a pretty good job of having your characters attack smartly, and I never really felt like it was something like Persona 3 where fucking Mitsuru's doing Mir and Kirin and I'm losing my goddamn mind.
Yeah, never even close to that bad.
Fuck you, Mitsuru. God. Nyx battle is one of the worst fucking things if you don't play it with the direct control option in later releases. The only thing that I would say that I really didn't like was kind of a point that Jeff's talked about, is the level grind. It is a staple, and you can almost feel like that this team that would later go on to make Bravely Default would learn from kind of the criticism that this is not super needed, because Heroes of Light felt like it was going for something different and more strategic. It feels like a learning experience for a team that would later go on to make Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. But having that staple here, so is that, most bosses feel more like gear checks where you need to perform specific moves in order to like waste them. That part's where the game somewhat, but not entirely, loses me. I think that once you learn the boost system, like for example, when you do go into that first boss with the Minotaur, I feel
Mhm.
like that's when the game really started to connect with me because you have Brant, he is using normal attacks, and then Jasqua is boosting to gain enough AP to cast fire. And that's the kind of play with that battle. You are, especially when you get your full cadre of 4 characters, you start to assign roles on top of the jobs that they have based off of their hats. It's like, okay, you're going to boost, you're going to dole consistent DPS damage, you will heal or use an item, and you will be casting spells as well, which maybe you need to boost to get. So you are in control of how you assign those roles. You are in control of how the jobs synergize with one another. And so there's a lot more player agency with how the action plays out. But once you find the strategy for a dungeon, the right composition for a party, the right kind of like flows and synergies, this game actually goes a lot faster than what I think Jeff's making it out to seem. Like the combat goes quick when you really when you really make some certain discoveries about this job works well with this one in this particular environment with these specific encounters, and there's like a snowball effect with some of the things that you do. And finding those organically, often through your own experimentation, is always kind of cool.
Yeah. So, story-wise, is there one? How much of a storage is there?
It's a pretty in-depth story. Like sure, it's a little like basic at the start, but I think that this game has a pretty good like beginning, middle, and end format with a couple of ups and downs here and there. But it's a game that I think spends a little too much time in its opening act with world building, but you almost kind of need to, given the genre. But I thought that this world was pretty interesting, with a little meat on the bone.
We're starting Final Fantasy 1 style, except they've given the characters names, and your character. I guess you would almost start more Pokemon style. Like you wake up in a house, and then you are told go see the king because you're an adventurer now. And then you are basically sent off to a witch's lair to rescue a princess. That gives you the tutorial on how to use magic and use a full party. How does the story spiral out from there, Jeff?
Oh God. How does it spiral? Like, you wind up going to a desert kingdom. You go through the sloggy, dull desert grid dungeon. It's got sinkholes in it.
As with any good adventure, the real initial action is, yo, I'm a king. Find my fucking daughter, please. She got kidnapped.
JRPG kings need to stop losing their daughters. That's my stance. Their daughters need to stop getting kidnapped.
Cringe in the desert helps them.
But yeah, I mean,
there's the evil witch
demon
lady named Lohi, and then you got to go through that cave sequence that you fight a minotaur, like I said, and it's like Jasqua saves your ass. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like
you
just kind of
that
in a sort of
witch,
Final
by the way.
Fantasy 2 or 3-ish, like or maybe it's 2. You wind up with like slightly more powerful characters in your party as sort of riders for a little while. 2 did this because your homeboy's missing for like most of Final Fantasy 2, and they give you these sort of tutorial characters for a while. So here's my big confession. I played this in disparate enough small chunks, basically, in between walking around town, sitting down and playing this for half an hour, that it was less of a plot thing and more of a I'm in this dungeon, I should probably get to the end of it thing. So you could tell me just about anything happened in this story. This is me admitting that I wasn't fully engaging with the plot of this game, and it didn't really stick as a result.
I'll help you out, Jeff. After you save the princess, what happens? You go to town and you notice everyone's been turned to stone. Yes. And then that ends up becoming the big mystery that you're trying to figure out.
And they give you the kind of Final Fantasy 1 text scroll thing before you leave town, right?
Yeah.
Or like it does the Star Wars intro, and then you leave and you go east.
You're going east to try and find the source of this curse that has afflicted the town that you were thrust upon, or like your home world. Like everyone's stone-ified or petrified in the world of Final Fantasy. So it's Brant and eventually Unita, because Jusqua is a temporary companion who fucks off for a bit. And you head to it started with a G, Guerra, to seek a cure, and then you meet Cringe, but it's spelled with K, who is also a ninja, and he's mythical or some sort of like, oh no, he's a moon folk, which is a throwback to Final Fantasy IV, which was kind of cool.
Lunarian.
Yeah, he's a Lunarian. And then you have to go through the Moonlight Tower, which then unlocks your world map. And this game has an overworld. Kind of. No, it has an overworld. I shouldn't fuck around with that. We at some point we need to like try and like find out or think about like when did the Final Fantasy franchise stop using overworlds?
Like entirely?
Like entirely. Is it 10?
I mean, do we count the overworld?
Doesn't have an overworld.
I mean, I guess we don't count the 12 like to scale.
No, see, like 12 is the ultimate death of the overworld because it's interstitial levels interconnected between major locations. Like that is the death. Like when you are using a fast travel system and warp points and aren't able to like move around on this giant like zoomed out map, like 12 is the death of the overworld.
I think it's 10. I think 10 there's no real overworld. 10. There's a map, you don't walk around on the map though.
Yeah.
So again, another way that this game feels like a throwback. Another weird way that this game is the throwback is when you're trying to go up and down on the dungeons, you just see a flight of stairs. They're always white stairs.
Yep.
And I miss them. I miss them so much. I miss the generic ass stairs to signify that you're going up and down. The fact that the stairs aren't, a different color to mimic what environment you're on, I thought was very funny because it reminded me of the older games that we've been playing for this podcast.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is very funny that parlance. I mean, it works, right? For level design purposes, it is totally functional. But a little bit of artifice of, every dungeon's just the same. They all got the stair installer to come through and make sure that people can move comfortably from floor 1 to floor 2. It is definitely funny.
But anyways, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
So I actually poked around. I have Nintendo DSs that just have a lot of games on them for reasons. Something that really kind of chapped my ass compared to, and like this is not a fair comparison, but comparing this to Final Fantasies 1 through 3, and I guess 6 really by extension, but like all the old 2D ones, right? Going around in dungeons, like Final Fantasy 2, abysmal dungeons, right? We all kind of hate them, right?
They're bad.
As much as I've defended that game. But you can see quite a bit of it, at least. Like, navigating sucks, but at least it's kind of navigable. Now, this game doesn't die by this necessarily because it keeps its dungeons relatively small, though even that cave one early in the game starts getting a little sprawly. But getting around in these, I was like, what feels weird about this? Like, and it's like, oh, it's because this camera is zoomed in like real fucking close when you're getting around. And I guess it's because like they're trying to show off fidelity or how nice shit looks. And in cities that kind of makes sense. Because in cities, like, yeah, this game does look actually pretty nice. But in dungeons, I can kind of give a rat's ass because it's kind of a grid with like, dungeon tile set dot, PNG sort of straped over it. I booted up Final Fantasy 3 and 4 for the DS. And I swear up and down, I think the camera in this game is actually zoomed in like closer to you in dungeons than those two.
It is. Yes.
Why? Why? And I think I already answered that question, but I think I think that's a poor change. It led to getting around being like, and again, Final Fantasy 2, like you just go to, Final Fantasy Dungeon repository.net and download cool maps someone drew in like 2003 and just use those. Like, you just kind of do that here at a point to get around.
And the maps. Speaking of the maps, like those other games, Final Fantasy 3 and 4 on the DS, they have self-drawing maps. So like when I was feeling a little bit claustrophobic playing those games from the top down, I just stared at the map and moved my character around on the map. In this game, they are not using the second screen to just dynamically draw you a map. There are like character portraits and menu stuff in there instead. And I feel like that's a miss in some ways. Like, that would alleviate your problem, right, Jeff? If you just had a nice map you could stare at in case the graphics on top were a little too much. I guess the other question I have about this game is like, the music also quite good, right? Like, the music stands out in a positive way.
Yeah, the music is great. The composer here is Naoshi Mitsuzuta, who most notably did almost all of the music for Final Fantasy XI, which, say what you will about Final Fantasy XI, but
sounds
a good soundtrack.
It's interesting.
You'll be happy to note that this particular person was that they have one music credit in Final Fantasy IX. Gino.
Okay.
They
Which
did
one?
Exclusively the theme that plays when you play Tetramaster.
Okay.
And then they basically, I guess it's of no surprise to either of you that they were the Final Fantasy 13 music person.
And,
13
like,
2,
this feels very different than that 13 score,
Lightning
though.
Returns, and they didn't do 15. I looked this up. They didn't do 15. They only did the music for episode Prompto.
Huh.
And then Final Fantasy Origin was their last credit with Square Enix.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, this feels like a kind of a departure for them because it feels like they grabbed this individual by the scruff and said, listen to the Final Fantasy III soundtrack several times and just kind of play in that space. But I think they execute super well in that. Like, it's got, DS kind of sound font feeling renditions of like the compositions are maybe a little limited or like whatever the hell, but it's nice. Like aesthetically, this game has quite a bit going for it, and it's the look and the music that are doing quite a bit of that lift.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that they don't use the battle they don't use the battle theme or the fanfare. They don't use the normal Final Fantasy sound font, if you know what I mean. At least the one that they are hearkening back to. Although I think, Jeff, you make a good point that it does sound like 3 or 4, like you could have composed these tunes. But the just generic, okay, I'm going to use the you know, or the Chocobo theme, the Moogle theme, the opening what is the arpeggio that starts at the beginning of all of these games. They avoided those, which is interesting as a choice to make this really feel like a side story, like a Gaiden. So what jobs are available with the hats? Are they going to be jobs that everyone just recognizes from the Final Fantasy series?
For the most part.
Well,
I mean,
Gino, for the most part, yes, with a few exceptions. I'm wondering, like, is Wayfarer a
Wayfarer?
traditional Wayfarer? Like, there are some jobs in this game where it's like, huh, I guess you did something new here. Anyways, similar to previous games, you start as freelancers and then you assign the hats. Most of these jobs are unlocked as you progress the story and beat bosses. I would just say, I love the way they reinterpret the look of these characters. Like I said, I think the biggest loop for me was like Wayfarer. I didn't really immediately know what they were, but they end up playing on my favorite trope of character or job types, which is I make items way better. I love this job whenever it exists in an RPG. I like the person who yeah, how about all of the potions I touch are like twice as effective?
The alchemist equivalent.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like there are the normal jobs that are pretty
Mhm.
standard. Your black mage,
Oh, can we?
your
I need to say this.
white mage.
Uh,
Yeah.
the black mage being recontextualized as a top hat English person.
very cool.
Mwah! Love it. Love it. Great. Fantastic. Let's do it. But yeah, I know where you're going, Gino, is like, then it's like, oh, white mage, black mage, bard, merchant, salve maker, elementalist,
Yep.
party
Seamstress.
host. And the weird thing is those newer jobs feel earned because they provide a service that for the most part really actually like addresses a crease that you need. And I like the fact that they didn't just give us the same fucking jobs that we've seen in every other previous job-based, Final Fantasy game.
Yeah,
Like,
it's interesting.
now I can't help think, like, man, I wish I could just make fucking potions. Thanks for giving me the salve maker, Heroes of Light.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like they have, I would say 25% of the jobs are just the jobs from the early, from the early games.
Yeah.
And then the other 75%, at least they have different names, like it's not Dark Knight, it's Dark Fencer. It's not what are some other Ranger is normal, Paladin is normal. It's not Thief, it's Bandit.
Yeah.
So interesting. And I like that they're playing around in this space. They're not just rolling out the same jobs that all these other games do, and they're not just purely relying on the literal nostalgia for the early Final Fantasy games. Because how many spin-offs have we played at this point in the series? Enough. There are some that just go, hey, look at a red mage or look at a black mage. Isn't that going to make you want to play this game? And this game, they're like, look, we'll do a little bit more. We're gonna play around in the space. Any other thoughts before we? Any story thoughts or other thoughts before we dip and play the back half of this game?
There's something to be said about. I mean, I bet part of this has to be the fact that like Matrix Software doesn't have a great relationship with Square Enix today, and Square probably just wants you to play the re-releases of Bravely Default or the most recent game that they released. But it is weird that a lot of their DS work just lives and dies on the DS.
Yeah.
Just lives and dies there. I mean, we've already talked about one, right? Jeff is, a certain rhythm game, Fiat Rhythm,
Yeah.
is probably best played on the DS, but they're not going to release that version of that game ever again. And
No.
they gave us basically a pretty close facsimile. So, I mean, this gets to, I think, Gino, like, the reason why you weren't able to play this game, which is finding this game's not easy.
No, it's like $100 if you want to buy it,
And
because they don't re-release. It has not been re-released.
and I know, like usually buying secondhand games for the DS is not usually hard, as Jeff would attest, but your your best option is probably to emulate. And there are a couple of options for you to do. None of them are going to solve the fact that you're going to either have to map the stylus onto an analog stick or one-to-one to your mouse, with you trying to change the sensitivity to that. And I use Melon DS, which is a very good high compatibility emulator for DS stuff. It's never going to get one-to-one, and I think every single person who's working on DS emulation will tell you that they're never going to have every single game work, because like that handheld is deeply unique to that hardware. Like, even people who have tried to try and graft those games onto tablets, which you think would be similar, it doesn't feel similar at all. But
Yeah,
it's weird. It's like, it really is weird. I don't know, Jeff, if you've delved into this sphere, but
I have never used a DS emulator. I I'm trying to remember, because I mean, I got a DS in 2006, got a DS Lite. In college, I wound up getting a DSi XL when they were like readily available. And I have gotten literally thousands of miles on that thing. Love it to death.
like, the hardware's not hard to find. You can find
The
a
hardware's
DS
not.
Lite on eBay pretty well, but getting the games for these things is the hard part. It really is.
Yes.
You can jailbreak them, though. I admit that's
So that's
on the table, I guess.
there. I see, particularly if you own copies of these games already, which, like, you know, lucky privileged position to be able to do that. But like, I had a pretty big DS library as it was. The idea that I would fiddle around with like manually taking cartridges out and putting them in, like, in some sense that's kind of fun and novel. But why the hell not just like get them all on there, right? So yeah, I've been living that life for some time now, and you know, that seems like a pretty great way to experience the vast, kind of incredible library of the Nintendo DS, and hey, maybe some other systems as well, while you're there, because if you're gonna, go down that road, you may as well go down the road. But yeah, I have seen secondhand copies of this game. I feel like Pink Gorilla was sitting on like 3 or 4 of them at different points in Seattle. Never bothered to pick one up. And then, maybe that was kind of stupid, because inevitably we're going to have to talk about it. And here I am, like, making us talk about it. So shame on me. But yeah, it turns out it runs just fine as what amounts to, an NDS file off of an SD card inside of a DS Lite, not a DS Lite, a DSi. So yeah, the addressing that this is in some sense a crime, Square games, for whatever reason, tended to have some like fun DRM baked into them, basically, that would make them not comply with your kind of R4 cards and some of your other kind of popular piracy devices for the Nintendo DS. This doesn't seem to have been one of those. seems to just kind of cruise. The ones that do, they've either various launchers these days will just kind of account for that and just plow right through. Or I think in the case of something like Saga 2, that remake that's on the DS, there's a fan patch that just kind of takes care of that for you. So this isn't me telling you where to go find these things, but they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I think there's a world where like this game, like I do find it kind of dull and kind of middling, but in no universe is it bad. I think it's a fine experience, and if you're like really, really enjoyed like the Bravely series of games, you should absolutely go check it out. Except you can't because Square's not selling this game.
Yeah, I would even go one. I would even go one step further and say, if you like what this team has done in general, this is where it started. Like Octopath they've even said like Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy don't happen if we didn't just come together and make fucking 4 Heroes of Light. Like this is when we were able to justify starting this team. And that's cool. This is when they first made the sausage. That's neat. So, entire pole to your tent squares, like important foundational start. We can't go back to it. Great job.
Really annoying. Really annoying to
really
not just
cool.
be able to download this game or play it any. Like,
the DS store has been down, and that's a tragedy. But that's been down for a different reason. But yeah, it just sucks. Just let us play this fucking thing. Maybe do what you've done before and like have better modified controls for a PC or a fucking Switch.
Like the cheap end of this is like $70.
Yeah. Like you could make a Switch 2 port of this, please.
I don't think this game is that good. But like I don't know. That's
I don't think it's gonna require a lot to make a re-release though, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean even if it's not $70 good, but it should be playable. Like, they've made other versions. Like they made the 3DS remake available on Steam. Right? Like they have done the work on some of these games. Actually, am I wrong on that?
I know the 4.
Yeah, they did. The 3D remake is on Steam. Yeah. They've done the work on another game in this engine. It would be nice if they did it on this one too. They did it on the 3D remake in Steam also. So they've made 2 of the 3 games that spring to mind as being built on this engine already available on Steam. Just not this one. Annoying.
And you wouldn't have to do any weird license. Like they already own the whole thing.
Sure do. Yeah. So any closing thoughts? We'll finish the game and come back and then rank it proper.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, ZP?
Heidi Klum's been talking about how you need to expel your bowels to get rid of worms.
How about you, Jeff? Any closing thoughts that are different, that are better than those thoughts? Please.
Just trying to think of something. Shout out to my dog who decided to overgroom his tail because I learned that there's a gland on the top of a dog's tail that can occasionally just get inflamed because, reasons, whatever. So now he gets to get very fun, surgical grade antiseptics applied to his tail twice a day. And to tamper down his desire to chew on that, he's also been getting a lot of melatonin. So,
Jeff, do you want to join us, like, to get to the Matrix software? Do you want to play some Alundra? Do you want to play some fucking bunk ass like adjacent PlayStation Zelda clone shit?
I own Alundra, so I own a legit digital copy of that game.
Thank you, dear listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show, deeplistenspodcast.bluesky.social, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.